All right, we have two basic goals today. The first is to stay warm. It's freezing. It's so cold. I think it's like 10 today, but yesterday or the day before it was -2. So the first things first is we're trying to stay cold or stay warm. The second thing that we're trying to do today is get my protagonist into a respectable place. So motivating this is I'm 3/4 of the way through the first draft of my novella. It's called Project Fever, and I'm kind of hitting a wall. Not like a wall, like I could just keep going, but I can feel the fact that the story is starting to run on fumes in this way that I think is linked to weaknesses in character. So what I'm going to do today are a number of different character exercises, some of which I've tried before, some of which I haven't. First one I'm going to do is pretty classic. It's identifying this character's want, need. I'm also going to brainstorm around a potential flaw, the shard of glass idea, whatever kind of fatal flaw is keeping them from meeting their need. And then the second thing I want to do is this thing that I did like 20 years ago when I was studying abroad in Russia. I went to an acting program at Mahat, which is like the national academy there, and studied acting there. And we did this thing that is for actors, but I'm going to try it. It's called the psychological gesture. And there was this acting teacher, this contemporary of Stanislavski, who was Michael Chekhov, who had this like idea where an actor could develop a physical sort of pose, right? So like, or something really dramatic and big that they could imagine and feel in their body. And when they were performing, if they found themselves kind of losing track of where they are in terms of who their character is, they could fall back on that and sort of see and feel that in their mind's eye as kind of some kind of core element of the character, something like their essence. So, it's kind of wild to be doing that for a writer, but maybe it's not wild, right? That's what I'm going to try. It might be wild to do it for you on camera, but hey, this is YouTube, and we're becoming friends slowly but surely. Then the third thing that I want to do, and this I know is useful, is to kind of think a little bit about actors, like Hollywood stars, and sort of see if I can kind of link or map my character, my protagonist, onto kind of a known star, right? And just, I think I'm gonna maybe try to get really kind of crafty with it, print out some pictures, kind of watch some movies, and yeah, that's just like another thing I can kind of have in my mind's eye as I'm writing to give the character a little bit of kind of, I don't know, just make it a little bit more concrete. I know people do kind of bios and interviews and all this good stuff for their characters, but for me, I think that probably something a little more instinctive, like this psychological gesture idea, like a type, just imagining this person as, whoever, Brad Pitt, Adrian Brody, or, what's the guy's name? Barbie, the genius. You know who I'm talking about. That is going to kind of give me something I can like sit on while writing instead of getting bogged down in details. So these are the 3 exercises I'm going to try today. I am in Michigan, in the beautiful town of Ann Arbor. So we're going to see where I'm going to post up today. I'm just visiting. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so that's one down. We just did I was at the library there, and I just did the character want, need, flaw breakdown, and that was successful. In case you don't know about that and want to know about that, it's a really useful way to think about character, right? The idea is that every character has an external want, something that they, think they want, a goal, right? So most classically, you could think something like a knight is trying to get to the castle and he has to fight the dragon. So his want is to get to the castle. And then you have their need, right? And their need is something more on the inside, something that they don't even necessarily know they need changing. That's kind of like the arc emotionally that they're taking in a book or a movie. That's why their story is happening. And then the flaw is the thing that's wrong with them that keeps them from solving their need. It's the thing inside them that prevents them from growing. That can be like a trauma from the past, although the article, that New York article, y'all should read, the case against the trauma plot. Beware of using trauma as backstory. Or it could just be like something wrong with them, right? Like, I think a good way of thinking about it is the 7 deadly sins, the big time flaws that we have, pride, for example, is in all the Shakespeare ones, greed. These are the things that really screw us up. All right, I've got to get a coffee. Yeah, so this is like still early days on this novella I'm working on. Project Fever is what I'm calling it. And I kind of still, am trying to figure this thing out. So that's what I'm trying to do now today, is kind of get some kind of firmer grasp on my protagonist and have that kind of information down on the page so that I have a plan for them dramaturgically, structure-wise, story-wise, for what they can do in the course of the story. So, although I have to say that, the deeper I dug, I was starting to look into kind of like, what does it mean for a want in a horror movie, right? Or horror book, because often the goal in a horror is just to try to survive, right? So, okay, all right, this project is kind of a horror novel. There's this kid, this parent, and he's trying to save his son who's not well. How does that interact with a need? Anyway, so this is all, there's answers to all these questions somewhere out there, but I got kind of overwhelmed, to be honest, trying to sort it all out. And I think this was like a perfect example where you can kind of overanalyze rather than actually write by instinct. And I think I have to do a little bit more writing before I can sort of apply this particular analysis onto the character. Like, I think I got some foundational elements, but I think that I was a little bit in the weeds. And I think that ultimately what I need to do today is continue getting in touch with this character in more like visceral kind of ways, which is why I'm going to go do this psychological gesture thing. It's freezing out, but I'm too embarrassed to do this inside. We'll see if there's too many people. So the plan is I'm going to go to the Arboretum, which I've never been to. And my hope is that it's nice and pretty and spacious, but also like sort of pseudo-private. I have enough clothes to be outside for a little bit, so we're gonna try it. The point being, it's like an acting exercise, okay? It's gonna be a little embarrassing. I think getting in my body a little bit is actually precisely the kind of work that I really need to be doing at this point in the game. Like, I do think that exercise was helpful. I think I am going to tack some of those things up on the wall, but I think what I really need to do is to kind of see who this person is as a person, as a body, as, someone with like chemicals running through them to make them want things less like up here, right? So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I dredged up some instructions on how to do an exercise, and I started out by just kind of almost like a meditation moment where I was trying to think about that goal, need, flaw, kind of just like embody that. I was kind of thinking about the ideas that I wrote just now and trying to like put them in my body a little bit. And then I continued on with this exercise kind of trying to give physicality to those feelings, to those ideas. And it was actually really cool because what happened was what came to me body-wise, like my instincts for this character were different, particularly about the need, from what I had articulated. So I had one idea in my head about what this character needed, which was to work on some relationship. But actually, once I started doing the exercises, I got all these kind of ideas around like shame and fear, and all these other outside, oh my God, there's cardinals here. This place is amazing. All these other like deeper things, which was so cool. So anyway, I know that was like acting exercise, but that was really cool. And I kind of really recommend experimenting with that. Michael Chekhov, look it up. Anyway, I'm still in the park. I'm just going to take a minute and walk down here while there's still a little light, because it's really beautiful. So this is the final installment of the vlog, and I just wanted to share with you what I've done since doing the psychological gesture exercise. The final thing was to research some movie stars, to look up some actors that I know who I could maybe think of as types for this protagonist. Back when I was a playwright in New York and we would do public readings, sometimes I would be meeting an actor for the first time who would be reading a script of mine, not a famous actor, and they would ask me, hey, so who do you imagine for this part? Who do you imagine? And I had to make a decision right then and there. They were about to go up on stage it was kind of like a bar type setting, Naked Angels, for any of you New Yorkers out there. And it was like, there was no time to really talk about the story of the script. They're like, hey, give me a type. And so thinking about that is something I wanted to try today, is to think about a type, kind of an essence of a character that I could then think about for my character while I'm writing. So I kind of tooled around and Googled around and was looking for characters, actors that could still play in their 50s or actors who have played in the 50s. And I found a couple different options and I pulled from those. And so moving forward as I write, another way in which I'm going to think about this character as I write is to think about this actor. I'm really excited about Ralph Fiennes. I thought he was a great opportunity here. This character of mine is kind of standoffish and pretentious. There's like a class element to this guy in my book, but he's also this loving father. And I think Ralph Fiennes really embodies a lot of those traits. Now, so those were the three that I had planned on doing, right, for this day, for this vlog, for this exercise. But I'm up here in Michigan because I'm at this kind of family get-together, family planning meeting. The whole family is here, and part of this event was that we all did personality tests. So we did this type of test. It's called the print test. I'd never heard of it before now. And basically what it did is you take this quiz and it told you a little bit about sort of who you are as a person, what motivates you, what the good sides of that are and what the bad sides of that are. So for example, my biggest thing is I'm a 3, which means I'm achievement, success driven, which has all these good things. I can achieve goals, but has all these bad things, which are sometimes I can be too competitive. So I went through these various character profiles and found one that sounded like my guy, my protagonist, and I am super stoked about that, because I think actually referring to that as I write will also be this amazingly useful strategy. So looking through these, I picked the profile 6 for my character, which means they prioritize safety and security. That really rang true for this character, and someone who prioritizes safety and security according to this sort of framework of personality exhibits certain traits. They're trustworthy, they're loyal, right? That's the good side of that instinct of pursuing security. But there's a dark side to that. When that need isn't met, this can turn into anxiety or actually mistrust. I'm already thinking about how I can apply these various characteristics to specific scenes. It's like, okay, so now that I know that these are the core traits of this character, this is how they respond, then I can apply that. I was like, okay, well, you know, they'll respond to this moment with anxiety, whereas someone else might respond with kind of overconfidence, you know, a fight or flight type. You know, people respond to things different way. So this is this cool kind of, you know, template that I can refer to. So it's so funny. That was the, you know, I wasn't even planning on doing that, but this actually could be incredibly useful for giving me sort of signposts for this character. Now I have this nice little reference that I can use moving forward, where I can kind of remind myself of all these little different things that I used today. So that is my way of brainstorming a protagonist. If you want to see the beginning of the horror novella, check out this vlog. I went to a cabin in the woods, and that was the kickoff of this project. So thanks so much for watching. You're the best, and let me know what you think.